First of all, what I want to give my opinion on is actually I do not believe and I do not think America, the United States of America, is still the global superpower as they used to be. I think China has already surpassed the United States as the global power. It is still said that the United States of America is still number one country, number one economy in the world. But I do not think that is actually factual. It's just propaganda being spread by the Western media to try and hold China to seem as if China is still behind. But in what metric is the United States still the superpower? There is no metric that the United States is winning except in terms of GDP, which is measured in US dollar. It doesn't make sense to compare the United States GDP and Chinese GDP using the US dollar value because we all know that China has devalued their currency in order to make their exports more attractive to the world because they are the manufacturer of the world. They want their currency to be a little bit weaker so that their exports can be cheaper on the global market. This is actual fact that the United States itself agrees and admits that China has devalued its currency in order to make their exports cheaper to the world. So it doesn't make sense for you to say, okay, because the United States of America is a $27 trillion economy and China is $18 trillion, so it's still smaller. It doesn't make sense to compare things that way. If you use purchasing power parity, we all know the Chinese economy is the biggest in the world. And also China produces a third of the world's products, including that of the United States of America. So which means there's no way the United States of America is a superpower when they are also relying on China as their manufacturer. You cannot say we are the biggest because you are the biggest consumer in the world. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make you the superpower. The superpower is the one that manufactures everything that you use. In terms of technology, we all know China has already surpassed the United States of America a long time ago in terms of technology. In the 2000s, the United States of America was leading in 60 out of the 64 critical technologies in the world. Today, in 2025, China leads in 57 out of 64 of those critical technologies, which shows a huge shift from the 2000s when China was only leading in 3 of those technologies. So the idea that the United States of America is still the superpower, I don't think it's real. Maybe they're talking about military power, but military power is subjective because every country, to protect their own pride and protect their own national security, they're not as public about how strong their military actually is. It's all about pretending as if their military is strong or that their military is stronger than the other. Even Iran will threaten to fight back the United States of America. So we cannot really tell. But this is how we can look at it. If China is leading in most of those critical technologies, this might also mean that China is also leading in military technology compared to the United States of America. Think about it. Everything the United States of America needs to make those weapons, to make those fighter jets, and to make those drones, it's also dependent on China to give them the rare earth minerals that they need in order to make those things. So China controls how much they can give to them. So I do not think that they are actually more advanced than the Chinese, but obviously I leave it for you to decide. Just like in boxing, before people actually fight, the great champions actually clash and see who wins. They all say, I'm going to knock this one out, I'm going to knock this one out. Until they actually engage and fight, one of them will definitely win. So in this case, between China and the United States of America, they haven't engaged or fought directly yet. It was always threats. But I think now this is going to be the time because America has chosen to actually engage. This means one thing. One of them is going to be exposed to show actually who is stronger. It might be the United States. This might be the chance that the United States of America is going to be exposed that they are not as strong as they pretend to be. These are few advantages that are worth noting that China has over the United States of America. China is not a democratic country, which means they do not change leaders so often. Think of the short man, Victor Gao, who said, we only change policies, we don't change leaders. In the West, you change leaders a lot. So in China, they can make plans for long term and they can see to it and locked into that goal to make sure it's achieved. It means China have been planning on how to deal with a situation like this for years and for decades because they knew this was going to come and they've been planning on how to deal with the United States of America. But compared to the United States of America, which is a democratic country, this tariff game that the United States of America is playing today was brought by Donald Trump 2 months ago. It might mean that they don't have a plan long term on how to carry this through. Courtesy of their democracy, it means leaders change so often, and when one leader comes, everything else is changed. When Trump started this tariff game in the previous administration, he was moved out by Joe Biden, and Joe Biden would come in with his own idea, his own policies, and Trump comes back again. He's putting different policies and different ideas, which means they do not have long-term plans to deal with this situation. So we can safely say the United States of America have no long-term game plan to see this through. This was an immaturely conceived game plan for the United States of America. Compared to China, is well prepared and they have a game plan to deal with this. So the United States of America is likely going to be embarrassed in that case. And also, one thing to consider, you must remember that courtesy to democracy, Donald Trump can also lose his power anytime. The citizens of the United States of America can grow dissatisfied or uncomfortable with what Donald Trump is doing if they feel any pain, and they will choose to wake up tomorrow and protest everybody and be able to remove Donald Trump. And also remember, the midterms are coming, and also this is his last 5 years anyway, because he can only be president for 2 terms. So 5 years might not be long enough to effect any change, whereas the Chinese government is going to be the same for decades to come, and they can see all their plans through. Point number two, because China is not a democracy, their information, their top secret information is highly conceived. Whereas the United States of America is an open book, courtesy to democracy. Everything that happens, majority of them is out in the public. All the debates, all the fallouts, all the differences within the leadership are out in public. So the Chinese government has an advantage because they have all the information on what the Trump administration is trying to do. Whereas what Beijing does, nobody knows. We will only find out with the results. You can see whatever happened before with AI and everything. All we have seen is them releasing something, but we never knew that they were working on anything until they publish it. So the Chinese government can be able to plan for the United States of America because they know what the United States of America is planning and what they're trying to do, whereas the United States of America and the world have no idea what the Chinese is planning to do. Hence another win for the Communist Party of China. Number three, because China is not a democracy, the business is heavily controlled by the Communist Party. So it is easy for them to champion everyone in one direction. Whereas in the United States of America, the opposite is true. When these people say we must put also tariffs on these other small countries so that China does not find backdoors, they are lying. The United States of American businesses are the ones who go through those back doors because they want to trade with Chinese companies so that they can enjoy those advantages that they have on manufacturing, which is cheap labor and cheap manufacturing costs. So the United States of America can choose to do one thing and the businesses can choose to do something else. But in China, the opposite is true. When the Chinese Communist Party decides one thing and everybody else is required to follow suit and walk in one line and march in a single file it towards one direction and one goal. That's another win for the Communist Party. The fourth advantage of China is because they are the manufacturer of the world. They manufacture more than the United States of America. In fact, the United States of America depends on China for manufacturing. So if trade between the two countries was to stop today, the country which will suffer the most is the United States of America, because this is the one that depends more on China, because it's the one who is waiting for products coming from China. But China does not suffer a lot because they can still trade with other countries and also they still make things for themselves. But the United States of America, for them to all of a sudden generate new industries, new factories, and start making their own things all over again, it's gonna take time. It's not overnight. So that's another win for China. The fifth advantage that China has over the United States of America is the rest of the world. Listen, the United States of America, when they were at the top alone, unchallenged, the US chose terrible foreign policy. Yes, they decided to create chaos and bully everybody else when they were at the top. The US went around the whole world creating wars, bombing everybody, destroying other countries, regime change agendas, a whole lot of terrible things which robbed them of good friends around the world. And the Chinese, as they were rising up, they came and said to the world, we are a good friend as compared to the United States of America. So you would rather be with us than the United States of America. So China has more friends than the United States of America. And especially in this tariff war where the United States of America is actually pissing off its best allies. It's actually a shame that China is actually trying to gain those friends of the United States of America, and they might gain them. So there you have it. That's my opinion on the advantages that China actually has in this trade war. I think at the end of the day, we will wait and see. This might not be the actual fight that will expose who is the strongest global power, but I think the China is already the strongest superpower in the world. I think they are already number one in all metrics. Because if you look at all the metrics that actually matters, China has proven already to have overtaken the United States of America long time ago, around 2017. So it's up to you. You can make your conclusions. We can wait and see what happens, how this plays out. This might not be the fight, but maybe the next one. But at some point, I can assure you what goes up will always go down. The Chinese are going to take over that superpower position from the United States of America. The proof is in the pudding. This is going to happen. It's almost happening. It's almost there.